Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4 through 10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, on Cablevision Channel 118, and on Verizon Fios Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for Thursday, April 24th, 2025. The Board will take formal action of payment of bills and other agenda items. Mr. Wydell?
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of the state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that the act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Roll call, please.
Dunn?
He said he wasn't going to make it tonight.
Okay, absent. Francisco?
Here.
Giordano?
Here.
Jodry?
Here.
Mazzone?
Here.
Slade?
Here.
Solikowski?
Here.
Venkatesan?
Here.
D'Antuno.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can we all stand for the pledge and remain standing? Please remain standing. The Board of Education acknowledges the death of Sabrina Anderson, Assistant to the Business Administrator, Data Management Specialist, and express its deepest sympathy to her family and friends. Can we just stand a moment? Thank you. Please be seated. Christina, can you do the Code of Ethics, please?
Sure. The board member will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board.
Thank you. You want to do the correction for? Okay, so there's been an administrative.
No, you could just announce approval of minutes. And
Oh, okay. Sorry. Can I have a motion for the approval of minutes?
Ms.
We're-
Owen, motion.
We're gonna.
Wait. Now you're confusing everybody. All right, first and second? All right, so I need a second.
Giordano, second.
Thank you.
We're going to administratively remove March 18th's regular meeting minutes as well as the closed session. For anyone that does read my minutes, they're a little more in-depth and detailed. That 4-hour or so meeting, I just didn't have a chance to finish those with some of the budget work we've been doing. So we are administratively removing just the March 18th regular session minutes. They will be completed. The March 11th were done for this meeting for approval. So we had a motion by Mazzone and a second by
Giordano.
Thank you.
Roll call, please. Well, any discussion on the 11th minutes? Okay, roll call, please.
Dunn is absent, so we'll go to Francisco.
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Jodry.
Yes.
Mazzone.
Yes.
Slade.
Yes.
Solikowski.
Yes.
Venkatesan.
Yes.
D'Antuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 for approval of minutes passes for just the March 11th minutes.
Okay, the student rep had a lot of fun hanging with the little kids at school today, but he's now out on the lacrosse field, so we do not have a student rep report. Recognition. Can I have a motion to open it?
Ms. Owen, motion.
Francisco will second.
Okay. Matt, would you like to do the retirees?
Okay. Yes, we have 7 retirements this month. Move the board approve the retirement of the following staff members with deep appreciation for the years of dedicated service to the district. Kevin Canton, 37 years. Pauline Georges, technology, 19 years. Joanne Cifero, transportation, 13 years. Carol Fiore, Grimson, she's here in fact, 25 years. Gloria Sensen, 22 years. Michelle Donnelly, Carl Sandberg, special ed, 33 years. And Joel Goodman, I worked with him 44 years, physics teacher. He's going to be very difficult to replace. Thank you very much for your service on behalf of the board.
Carol, if you're here, does that mean you don't want us to approve the retirement? You want to stay longer? Thank you, all the retirees, for your dedication. Mr. Citadino is going to go to the mic.
Kachi, can you please join me? So I was given the great honor of getting the abbreviated name, the nickname that he goes by. So move the board to recognize Kachi Akpolo, the 7th grade student from Carl Sandburg Middle School, as a state finalist in the Elks Americanism Essay Contest. His winning essay is in response to a prompt, "What does patriotism mean to me?" So the board and the whole community of Old Bridge are very proud of you for what you've done in this essay. Is there anything, you seem kind of like a reserved kind of guy, but is there anything you want to say about your essay? Anything you want to tell us about the meaning behind it for you? I will just say that having read your essay, you did a great job. It really speaks to what it means to be an American and the values of our country. So thank you so much for that. And we present you with this, and I think we're going to stand over here for a nice picture. Thank you, guys.
Any discussion on our retirees or Kachi's essay?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I have a discussion. So I also knew Mr. Goodman. He taught AP Physics, and he helped a lot of students get the AP credits for that. It's one of the toughest courses in the high school, and as Mr. Solkowski said, he'll be very difficult to replace and replicate what he's done for the juniors and seniors who took his course. So I'd like to congratulate him especially. Thank you.
I would like to say something. I want to congratulate all of the retirees on their retirements and thank you for all of your years of service and dedication to our students. One in particular, I actually had the honor of my daughter having as a 3rd grade teacher, and I will admit at first I was a little nervous, but the way that she transformed Bella this year is just, it's old school teaching. She really just, she doesn't take anything from the kids and really teaches and really dedicates herself to what she's teaching the kids. So Mrs. Fiore, thank you. And again, congratulations and best of luck to everybody.
Anyone else?
And I echo that also because she had my grandson many years ago. Fantastic teacher. Thank you.
I mean, if you want to stay one more year for Emma, it's fine.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatason,
Yes.
and Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 and 2 for recognition passes. Congratulations to all.
Superintendent's report.
Just a few items on the superintendent's report tonight. In the past few days, we've recognized many great heroes within our school community. We started the week recognizing our school bus drivers, our whole transportation department, what they do every day to ensure that our students arrive safely. Following the next day, we recognized our administrative professionals, administrative assistant professionals that work in our offices every day. They're behind the scenes making sure that our schools operate and have everything they need. So I want to thank them. And today was Bring Your Child to Work Day, and I don't think any school district does it better than we've done it here. We've made it, since our administration came in, we've made it truly something to look forward to and a celebratory practice that if we recognize that the future of educators has to be seen by today's young people, so they want to emulate what great educators look like. We have to have them come in the classrooms, visit what their parents are doing, see what they're doing, and be proud of that. And so when they think about what kind of career they want in the future, hopefully they want to come back and serve the students themselves and be the educators for the future. So I want to thank all of our schools for taking part of that and really making it a celebration across the school community. Well, thank you, Pete. I just want to thank everybody from Old Bridge. I don't know if you heard that I am going to have my resignation on here tonight. And I want to thank the Old Bridge community for always supporting myself, my family, letting me have a great opportunity to have a profession I'm very proud of. And the staff here has been second to none. It's like a family to me. And I really appreciate everyone. And no matter what crazy, zany thing I wanted them to do, they stepped up and did it, always in the name of what's best for our kids. And that's the way we operate. The families entrusted me with their children. That's the greatest compliment you can ever receive, is to entrust someone with your children. So I want to thank the families and the students. That's what I'm here for. So thank you so much for all the students who have made lasting memories on me. And, you know, I think, you know, on Daisy as well. She's always remembered every one of you. And, you know, when she sees you, she's like, they smell like what they had for breakfast. So she's always very excited to walk into classrooms and see the kids. So, I just, there's something people say, well, why now, why then? We had the meeting, and again, I have no hard feelings. I think it's a great thing. Time comes for everything, and sometimes you have to go down different paths, always to have a bright future for everybody. And I think Old Bridge has a bright future, and I'm going to have a bright future in Wayne. We're just going to be on different paths. But when we had our meeting, and, it was a vote to, extend me a year, but that was kind of like the option of not having me 3, I did some thinking and reflecting, and it was just kind of like, all right, so it's better to do, because I think Mr. Giordano said, let's start the superintendent search right away, and Jen at a subsequent meeting said, yes, I reached out to the NJ School Boards Association, and they can start in September. And then I realized, what's going to happen in September? They're probably going to have that vote again, because you're not going to have people coming in to replace the superintendent without having the superintendent know that he's not going to be back in the spring at the end of that year. I'll have superintendents that I know reaching out to me and saying, hey, Dave, they posted for your position. Are you leaving? I said, I don't know. So I said, you know what? The only way it really works out best for Old Bridge, and that's what it really is about, is if I go on my own terms. And I think it's a great time. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for myself. It's going to be a great opportunity for Old Bridge. I know I leave in a better place with lots of promising leaders for the future, and that's what I'm proud of. So I wish Old Bridge the best, and thank you for everything everyone's done for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to add that it's Volunteer Appreciation Week. So thank you to all of the volunteers that make our schools work, the PTAs, the class parents, the, parents that help with the different clubs and coaching teams like that. So I'm going to add that to your superintendent's report.
Thank
Sorry. Go ahead.
I really didn't have a lot, because I think like the bulk of what you guys have to talk about really belongs in there, because it's the heart of the meeting, and really what people want to know about is your budget presentation. So I don't know if you want to do it there or do it somewhere in committee reports, but this is kind of like, it's a good opportunity, because then people have a chance to speak about it after, during the first open public.
Yep, we're going to do it during committee reports.
Okay, very good.
So progress towards goals. We did have a committee of the whole meeting yesterday to work on the finances, because I know that is a district goal, the financial resilience. So the meetings towards the goals are happening. Any correspondence?
I do not have correspondence, but I just have a quick announcement. There have been some emails that we have been getting from the community to the whole board. I'm CC'd on them, which is great. I didn't bring any correspondence, because on those emails to the board, there was no specific requests to be read aloud today. They were just tend to be messages to the board. I did see some come in, but again, it could have just been a message to the board and not me, and just me CC'd on it. So just a note to the public for that. Any correspondence being sent to the Board of Education, unless there is express written request for me to share at a public board meeting, I will take it as just an email to the board and just letting me know that you're doing so. Again, if you do want something read at correspondence during the course of a meeting, please do expressly request that. I'm not reading any tonight, because there were some emails that came through to the board, but it doesn't look like anyone wanted to request it be read tonight. So if you feel otherwise, please resend, and I will read it at next meeting aloud, or you have the opportunity to come to next meeting and speak to that. All right? Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go into the special committee reports. We're going to do our regular committees first, and then we'll go into the budget, which I assume a lot of you are tuned in or here for. So, committee reports?
I can start.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple. On April 1st, we had a special services committee meeting. We talked about AAC evaluations. The Old Bridge AAC evaluation team, which is Jennifer Gonzalez, Morgan Chirillo, and Nicolette Cantella, talked about the fact that presently evaluations are currently being completed by outside privately contracted companies, but they formed a committee and they would like to, they made a proposal to do the evaluations in-house, which will allow them to be more individualized. They'll have more time with the students. They'll be able to choose devices that are more individualized again for students. They've been seeing that the outside evaluations have kind of come back all suggesting the same supports and recommendations, and they're very limited. So they think that if they do this, that they'll be able to, because they know the students better, they'll be able to provide varied and individualized recommendations. They'll be able to do more comprehensive assessments. And another problem with the outside evaluations is that they've been coming back not in a timely fashion, which means that the devices don't get into the hands of students in a timely fashion either. So they think that by them doing it in-house, they're not only it's not only going to be more cost efficient, but they're going to be able to have a better turnaround and get the devices into the hands of the students that need them. Let's see, Ms. Adinolfi talked about Inclusive Schools Week. That was last December. The theme was Every Voice Matters, and that reflects a core belief that every individual brings a unique perspective, enriching the fabric of our school community. She talked about, she gave us examples and a PowerPoint, and if anybody wants to see this, we have it. We can provide it. If you're not on Facebook, you can always email one of us, or you can email Ms. Adinolfi. Shiraz School, the speech therapists highlighted different communication methods. In art, the students listened to My Voice as a Trumpet and completed a mural. They had guest readers from the community, and they concluded the week with a unity walk. In Voorhees School, students sang We Are All in This Together each morning, and they watched a read aloud entitled Just Ask, Be Different, Be Brave, Be You by U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. And guest speakers also discussed inclusivity and personal experiences. Memorial School, they created inclusion pledges and talked about, they had discussions about inclusivity in their homerooms. They celebrated diversity by making friendship flowers, and they shared what they learned on these friendship flowers. And they did an empathy activity called In Their Shoes. In Carpenter School, they learned about inclusion, created and signed a petition, and created a chain of ways to include others. Then we discussed a pilot program called My Reading, My Math Academy. It's at the preschool level, and it's integrated programs at Glen and Southwood. It's a research-based digital program designed to accelerate student achievement. It's developed by Age of Learning, and it supports personalized and adaptive learning experiences. The program began in December when all staff received professional development, and during the presentation, Ms. Adinolfi discussed the key features of each program. Then we went on to the multi-sensory reading update. A committee was established, general education teachers, special education teachers, interventionists, reading specialists, and coaches. And this committee rolled it out from December to January. They investigated tools to narrow the focus. Now, this is just in committee at this point. In February, they contacted companies for different trials and demos. Between March and May, they trialed different items. Between May and June, they personalized plans based on recommendations. They set criteria for investigation. And the multi-sensory reading programs that they're exploring are Wilson Reading System, Wilson Foundation, Spire, and BrainSpring Phonics First. But the next steps will be determined by the outcome of the budget. So that was everything for April 1st. And then on April 17th, we had part 2 of our SEPTA meeting that first occurred on March 20th, but April 17th was the second part. It was planning for transition, accessing services and natural supports, and yes, your child can work. There's so many resources for this. You can contact SEPTA if you want them. You can email me. You can get them on the Facebook pages, but I just wanted to quickly go through them. The first discussion was accessing services and natural supports, and they talked about adult service delivery changes. All individuals must be functionally eligible for DDD services and must have Medicaid. They talked about the plan was, the example of services was respite and summer camp, but the person who was giving the presentation, Jerisa Masico, she said, she talked about the things families wonder about and how to get started, and her suggestions were get a team, and she has tons of information and examples about this. Get information, get a plan, get going, and get feedback. Then the second part of her presentation was talking about asking the question, is your child in special education, and planning for adult life. Talked about helping families, Planning for Adult Life is the group that she's in, talked about helping families planning for transition from school to adult life by connecting them to information and resources. And again, there's so many resources. They're really great resources. And I can just run down the names of the handouts and the worksheets that she provided. 150 things you can do to build social capital, a list of supportive websites, a timeline for students exiting school and turning 21, 40 developmental assets, who will help me using my natural supports worksheet, resource list for parents of children with autism. And these are things that help parents learn how to build their own team. Helpful books for adults and children, pre-employment transition services, student referral form from the New Jersey Department of Labor, transition goals and activities for inclusive post-secondary programs, and yes, your child can work. Part 1 before graduation, Part 2 after graduation and beyond. The next SEPTA meeting will be Tuesday, May 13th at 6:30 at Glen School, and they're giving a presentation on guardianship and trusts. Let me see if there's anything else. I think there. So that was 4-1, and that was SEPTA and special services. Okay, that's it.
Policy.
Yes, on April 1st, we had a policy and curriculum meeting. I thought it was an April Fool's joke, so I wasn't there. I had a previous engagement. But I had my favorite stenographer, Marjorie, take notes. So take a sip, and
Okay.
you can update
Here's
them on the policy.
one last report. So on April 1st, it was the curriculum committee meeting. It was a full house for the curriculum committee meeting, and you can bet that Dr. Tui was all in with a lot of great information, and his presentation was a focus on the positives. Am I getting this right, Dr. Tui? Okay. He reviewed previous curriculum meeting topics, and then he talked about the New Jersey High Impact Tutoring Program. It's a grant-funded program awarded based on the high ratings from grant reviewers at the state level to Old Bridge, District of Old Bridge. It was almost $500,000. It was a New Jersey DOE competitive grant for years 23 and 24 and 24 and 25, and it applied to supplement the district budget. Dr. Calandria was the program administrator and provided oversight of the grant funding. This was all elementary schools benefited from this, and the grant levels were from 2 to 5, and that was dictated by the grant requirements. The target populations were students with RTI, Tier 2 and/or Tier 3, IEPs, ESL services, 504 plans, and a set criteria based on various assessment, cut scores, and teacher recommendation. The total enrollment was 143 students. The average academic gains in ELA, IXL was +70. In math, IXL was +80. The parents were surveyed, and they were very pleased with the academic progress and student experience. The average rating was 4.88 out of 5. What else?
I couldn't have said it any better.
I didn't finish. Okay. You want to hear the rest of what you would have said? Okay. The curriculum policy meeting agenda. Additional topics were the NJSLA test preparation summary. That was a handout that we received. Vetting outside educational resources. A brief overview was given by Ms. Rachel O'Neill. We talked about middle school, summer school recovery program, attendance and grades. elementary departmentalization for grades 4 and 5, and we're going to have a follow-up in May, and scheduling future curriculum meetings with topics and times. And now I'm done.
Well, he challenged you on that, and then he doubled down to make sure you were going to,
If he's going to let me do it,
yeah. It was a full house, the meeting, though, right?
it was a full house.
Yeah, okay.
If I can add a couple of comments. Yeah. So in the same curriculum meeting, I was challenging Dr. Tui and others about, hey, do we have appropriate software installed on the kids' laptops, right? So we had this conversation. And I appreciate Dr. Tui returning back to me the following day and looping in Mr. James Yanazuli. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. So he sent me a list of software that's typically installed, at all grade levels. So I did take a deep look at it, and they are making sense. Because as my kids are in the system, I also want to be aware of what's going on. Because I do see a lot of, widgets or apps, in the Clever and all of this stuff. So thanks to Mr. Yanazuli to send me the list. I did take a deep review at each one of them. But what I was more becoming aware is there are certain things accessible just over the internet, right? There are GimKit and other educational stuff, but also playful stuff. So that's where we have to strike a balance. But otherwise, thanks Dr. Tui and Mr. Yanazuli for helping me understand what's installed. Thank you.
So on April 10th, we invited the town council president and their BA to meet with myself, Mr. Cittadino, and Mr. Wydell. I thought it was a very productive, positive meeting. Basically, we represent the same community coming together. A few years ago, we had done something like World Fest and, inviting each other to each other's events. The board going to town events like the tree lighting and the town council coming to our events. So we're going to work more collaboratively on things like that and try to come together as a community because we do serve the same people. So that was a very nice meeting. And now the reason most of you are here. The board had a very nice conversation it was like all day, it was like 10 to 4 or 10 to 3:30. But a big part of the conversation is we wanted to have it kind of again in public for you guys to see what are we looking at. It's not just spreadsheets and numbers and throwing darts at like, okay, this is what's going to go and this is what's going to stay. Like we really had a thorough conversation, so we kind of want to reshare some of that information with you guys, and then during the hearing of the residents on the agenda items, it's going to include this budget time. So after you hear what we have to say and the mic is open, we invite you to share your feedback. So go ahead, Matt.
Okay, as you know, next month is budget time. We're going to be voting on it. We're going to cast 9 votes, and we'll see what happens. If the budget does not pass, I believe years ago we used to go and sit down with the town council and try to work things out. That doesn't happen anymore. I believe now if it's a no vote on it, it's going to go to the state. And I believe, Mr. Pardon, can you help me with this one? What happens if the state does pick it up? The no vote.
Yeah, you're right that it no longer goes to the Township Council. The November move from 2012 is now a direct appeal to the state, or it's not really an appeal, it's a review by the state. In normal times, remember those, we had the state would review and see if you should get more money. Their answer to that is now clear. But what the state has done in the last couple of years is offered what they have considered incentive programs. Last year was the 9.9, this year is the tax levy incentive aid. And last year in both Toms River and Jackson, the board did what you're proposing or what you're asking about, and they voted down the budget. The state reviewed their budgets, and it took until early July, but the state did the commissioner did a press release and imposed on both places the budget as proposed, which went to the full 9.9 authority. We don't know what will happen this year. This year is somewhat different. The tax levy incentive aid program is different than last year's stabilized school budget education aid program. We just make up big names now. And it's a lot higher stakes this year because the state, if they do what they did last year in Jackson and Toms River, then a defeated budget would mean that the state might take you to maximum authorization, which is 30.4 in Old Bridge. We don't know. No one's gotten to that point yet. But yes, it is a state review, and the state would then have the authority, without any further vote or any further action by the board, to impose a budget on you.
Thank you,
They-
Mr.
Do
Pardon.
they tell us what we have to spend the money on? Do we know?
No, they would not do line items necessarily. They would do allocations, including allocations from your own taxpayers, which may seem backwards, and it probably is.
Wouldn't they look at what's mandated by the state, what courses or whatever's mandated by the state, and look at all the others and possibly remove them? I don't know.
Last year, I think the answer to that was more likely yes, because last year we were talking about a state partially funded program and the discretion for the board. This year, they're talking about a shifting of the burden from the state to the local taxpayer. So it is not
Right.
clear that they would reduce. Yes, their first look would be to see if you're meeting your thorough and efficient free public
Right.
education standards, but they could go beyond that and say, you have the right to take this money, so take it. And that would be the final word. There would not be, there's no real structure for an appeal from there.
And it's out of our hands totally.
It would not be subject to board review at that point, right?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pardon.
Okay. I've asked the administration to kind of go over the cuts that have been made in the past since this whole financial crisis has started. You're messing up the script now. Jay, can
I'll
you?
do my end.
Yeah.
But first, I know Jen brushed over the fact that we were out at a committee meeting yesterday for 5 hours, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So just to give, that's the middle of a workday. So just to give you an idea of our commitment to this. We're not just brushing this over. I mean, they're giving us, spreadsheets. I mean, look at the size of this sheet I got to read. I couldn't even read it. Small print and, things like, so.
We need a magnifying
Yeah,
glasses.
so you have the same. And the sad part is that our students are caught in the crossfire of this. Our staff is caught in the crossfire. So we have big decisions. So administration was there, the board was there. We were committed for 5 hours. But I was asked just briefly to say that it's not just an Old Bridge thing. This is not happening here. It's hot news. It's across the state of New Jersey. I happened to Google a few districts. Middletown, Toms River, Jackson, Lacey, East Orange. This is all Google stuff. But I just took some numbers. So at least I say like misery loves company. This is not the company you want to be in. But we're all being affected by it. Keyport is being asked to raise their school taxes by 12.5%, or else they're going to sell schools and cut programs. 19 districts in Monmouth County, 18 districts in Ocean County. Middletown is going to be asked to raise their taxes by 10%. They're $10 million in the hole of a $197 million budget, which is similar to us. Lacey Township, which is down in Ocean, their township is asking, Trenton is asking Lacey to shoulder $17.5 million of their $87 million budget. So when Mr. Parton talks about this $30 million, we're in that ballpark. I'm not going to steal other people's thunder, but I might be a cockeyed optimist, but I like having control. I mean, the state's been helping us deliver an education on a silver platter. Now they're asking us to do it on paper plates. So if they're shifting the weight in our direction, I know it's expensive. I'm a taxpayer. I own a home in Old Bridge. I'm willing to make an investment into my students' future, my kids, the value of my home. So there's a lot riding on these decisions today. So we have a lot to discuss, a lot to share, and we obviously need your feedback. So strength is in numbers. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, allowing me that delay there too, Mr. Slade. So a lot of times when we've gone to reaching these deficit issues and state funding issues, the first question that we get from people, trim some of the fat, get rid of the extra stuff, be more efficient, be more frugal. So, and if you're just new to the district, or, you know, a lot of times in education we have short memories about what has been done, what are the hardships we saw in prior years. And so what the board has asked me to do is just kind of show you what these cuts we've made over the course of the years. And these cuts are compounded, because every time we eliminate a position, every time we eliminate a service that we provide to our children, we get closer to not being able to provide that thorough and efficient education that we're guided by the Constitution of the State of New Jersey to provide. And for me as a superintendent, that's where I'm at this year. That's why I have a hard time with the state putting all the weight on the local Board of Education and taxpayers. And I say I've been saying for the past 2 years, it's very difficult to be a Board of Education member, because people will remember the decision you have made, but not the choices you had. And some of these choices that they have as board members will impact your home values, will impact, you know, where your children rank when they go to look for universities. What will their employment levels be? What will you be able to afford for childcare when you have shorter school days and your children don't have extracurricular activities after school? Where will they be? What impact will it have on the police department when students don't have extracurricular activities and they're out at 12:30 in the afternoon? You know, what will that cost be to a community? What will that cost be to the home value? So that's that thorough and efficient, what it means to me. Everything. It's not thorough and efficient isn't just the academics. Thorough and efficient is what we provide our students to make them well-rounded, to be self-reliant, employable citizens when they leave here. So they're not a part of society in which the society has to support them, that they can support themselves. And that means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. That's why my emphasis has always been not on just on the college bound, but those who are going into the workplace, those going into the careers, going into the military. Whatever you needed to do to make sure that you were self-reliant. So these are the things, these cuts we've made that got us close to where I think we're at a dangerous place, or anything below this is teetering on not having that thorough and efficient possibility for our students. 2017-18, we covered most of those cuts by reserves. For those of you who don't recall, July, you'll see in May we're going to adopt a budget. When we adopt a budget in May, the state approves it in June. That all happened in 2017-18. And then in July, once we started spending that money on July 1st, the state said, wait a minute, we don't want you to have as much state aid. We know you started spending it. We want $609,000 back. So we had to find money to offset those bills we already started committing ourselves to. And so we used our reserves to cover that cost. So reserves that we could use for future years, that $609,000 and change was already gone because we had to use it to cover the hole that the state took away from us. We had a glimpse of what it would look like in the following year, 2018-19, and that's when a very difficult decision was made. We knew we were going to lose $1.9 million, close to $2 million the following year. We had to act, and we had to act fast. This board looked at many options. Again, like I said, you'll always remember the decisions the board made, but not only the choices they had. And that was the year in which Cheesequake School was closed. We closed a school. We reduced 85 positions. We cut 2 central administration positions at central admin, 1 building level administrator, 27 noon-hour supervisors, 10 secretaries, 10 paraprofessionals, assistant coaching positions across the district, more certified and certified staff. At the high school, we lost staff, $1,180,000 worth of staff at the high school, all district librarians, planetarium. We closed 1 planetarium. We closed 10 elementary sections, 3 elementary-related arts, and eliminated elementary guidance counselor. At the same time, the supervisors moved from 12 months to 10 months. There's a cut of late runs of transportation at the high school and middle school. We eliminated Spanish from grades 6 and 7 at the middle schools. We removed family and consumer science from middle school elective offerings and reduced instructional supplies. In 2019-2020, we had the COVID years, and the federal government provided us with a lot of funds, ESSER funds, to offset money. We were still losing state aid, but as we were losing state aid, we weren't spending as much. We weren't spending as much on transportation, even though the state of New Jersey still made us pay our contracted bus drivers, not our bus drivers. They're the best. We want to keep on paying them. But the bus drivers from the other companies that weren't picking up our children and weren't doing our routes, we still had to pay them. We had to, but we still had some savings, and we used that ESSER funds to cover losses that year. 2020-21, we used the ESSER funds and COVID money for that year as well. In 2021-22, now we don't have those ESSER funds as much anymore. We had to eliminate the supervisor of guidance. In 2022-23, again, we're hard hit by cuts again. This is another $2 million in cuts. Eliminate 2 middle school science and SEL staff positions. Eliminate 2 middle school social studies positions. Eliminate 1 planetarium position. A media specialist, those funds were shifted to ESSER. Eliminate 2 ELA staff members at the high school. Eliminate 2 high school science teachers. Eliminate 1 art teacher at the high school interventionist. That salary went to ESSER. Eliminate 1 elementary music position. The Kelly service, all of our substitutes, we put that in ESSER funds because we had money there we could use, we didn't have in the local funds. Eliminated 1 preschool teacher. Eliminate 2 preschool paraprofessionals. Eliminate bathroom support paraprofessionals of Voorhees. Eliminate ESS. ESS is a support system we have for our students with mental health in the middle schools. We had to eliminate that, and we put the salaries of the BCBA behaviorist to ESSER that year as well, for a total of $2.528 million. In 2023-24, we had these cuts. Additional cuts to employee benefits and maintenance and transportations. Reduced 2 instructional coaches. Reduced 1 district nurse position. Reduced 1 elementary school interventionist position. Reduced 3 middle school teams at Salk and Sandburg. 1 special education teacher and 11 total staff. Reduced textbook line items, something that our board members have been working with us hard on. We're trying to get science textbooks, science curriculum. But every year when we put it on the agenda to adopt it, it winds up getting cut because there's no funds for it. Eliminate after-school transportation. Reduced 1 Old guidance secretary. Reduced transportation secretary. Reduce central administration secretary. Reduce a technician. Eliminate the copy specialist. Reduce substitute costs. Reduce instructional supplies. Eliminate middle school subject area coordinators, math, social studies, ELA, related arts, world languages, science, PE, and special education. And eliminate the technology building support personnel. So as you keep on doing these eliminations for people that provide valuable services to our students, you're getting closer to that place. Well, how do we continue to provide that thorough and efficient education so every student gets the supports they need? Not just the AP students, not just the special needs students, not just the athletes, everyone, because everyone has a need and everyone's gifted in some way. And when you're not providing them the service they need to address and meet their goals, you're not thorough and efficient anymore. So that's why these are very difficult decisions before our board today. Thank you.
The other question that kind of touches on this before we move on that we get asked is, well, where did the money go? We sold the Nike base, and we've explained in the past, I'm going to explain to anyone who's new, we have 2 accounts, 2 checking accounts, let's say, a capital account and a general fund. Because the Nike base was property, it's considered capital. That money can only go in the capital account. The capital money is really meant to upkeep our buildings and our properties and things like that. Our general fund is the income. Now, the income that we do get, is Cheesequake. We closed Cheesequake. We didn't sell it. We're renting it. Yes, do we get a good chunk of money to that? We do, but that has gone to keeping us afloat and not having us to do more cuts. So those are the 2 big incomes that have been discussed.
Just to add to that point, so as you go through these cuts and when the Nike base was sold, that money went into that reserve where that continues to add interest and it brings a little bit of income to us. But had it gone to our general budget and facing potential cuts, in prior years, and say you were in a $10 million hole, well, you have $10 million right away, and you clear it up, and then it's gone forever. Whereas now, that money does sit in there, and we're talking about, upgrading the playgrounds and doing some asphalt paving. But, God forbid a bridge is out or something, a hole in the roof happens. Now we do have the reserves for, those major expenses. But
our buildings are older.
They are older, so it is something that we're holding on to dearly in a district that's got a nice bit of, they're continuing to build those reserves. We're keeping them stagnant. There was a couple last year, I think just before I came here, there was a ROD grant where the state introduced that for the first time in a few years, and essentially they would pay 40% of any upgrades that you would make, but you had to front the cash out front. So we put in for applications for ROD grant for rooftop units at multiple schools. And when we got those proposals back, they were, first of all, to have $10 million. Only one school would really be chosen because they were $7 million, and 40% of $7 million, you could do it. But to really have at least one project and keep some balance, now you're kind of decreasing that, and only one school got done. So we're trying to use that money sparingly and smartly, touch as many schools as possible with needs that are really needed. And it does just hold in and bring some interest in every year. But otherwise, if you spent it a few years ago, we'd be even a bigger mess, to be honest.
Yeah, because when something like the gas leak happened at Sandburg, if we didn't have that reserve and stuff like that.
The reserves at the time, right?
Right. Sal?
So going forward with the $18 million budget cut deficit from our budget that we have, these are the following things that would happen. We would have to transition to a 6-period high school, which would basically means a half-day high school. So half of the courses at the high school level would have to be eliminated, and those positions that go along with it. We would have to close 2 elementary schools, and out of the elementary schools that do remain, it would just eliminate related arts, and the only class that we have to teach is gym, so that would be the only thing mandated because that's what the state mandates. There would be no middle school sports, and at the high school level, it would only be varsity level sports. There would be no ROTC. There would be no school security for all of the schools, so that would include the police officers and the SCLOs, et cetera. And there would be no kindergarten at all. And I think the board would agree and the public would agree that this is an unacceptable way to run the district. And it's very disastrous that we are put in this position due to the S2 cuts that have affected us in basically the last decade almost. So, thank you.
Those are all
Yes.
difficult things that Mr. Giuliano just went over. And I want no one to think that anybody on this board is like, yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea. Mr. Cittadino would never say, let's not have security. You know where I stand on that. So these are things that we have to look at when we're looking at a $18 million deficit and being underfunded locally by $30 million. Like, what can you eliminate? Believe it or not, the state of New Jersey does not mandate kindergarten. Believe that or not. The state of New Jersey does not mandate that school districts have kindergarten. So would we want to eliminate kindergarten? No. But is it something we could eliminate to the state? Yes, because they haven't mandated that we have it. So I don't think any of the board members up here want to say, like, these are great ideas, but these are things that if we don't do something drastic to address this deficit, these are the things that would have to be eliminated because it's where we don't have a choice in it because everything else would be mandated.
So again, this is us kind of reliving our conversation with you. So we all had the same reaction. Like, I saw head shaking. Are you serious? Yeah, we all had the same reaction because that is not Old Bridge. So to continue, Elena?
So I would like to start by saying that the board, and I think you can see that tonight, has really been working very diligently diving into this budget. We have asked endless questions. Mr. Wydell has answered, and administration, endless questions. I don't think they could have anticipated the amount of questions that we have come up with. And they've answered them graciously, and they've answered them in depth. So as board members, I know I can speak for all of us in saying that we're grateful for all of this information. And as Jay was saying, I have packets upon packets of information because we had so many questions. So that being said, we're not each other's enemies in this, and you're not each other's enemies in this. There's only one enemy here, and I know that's probably a really strong word, and that's the state. The state is the one that has put us in this predicament to make these really hard decisions because none of us want any of these things to happen. None of us want our taxes to go up either. I'm also a taxpayer here, and I would love for that not to happen. And I would love for that not to happen, especially for the people who can't afford a tax increase. So let's come together in that because this is an opportunity for all of us to work together. So my job for this this portion is to kind of provide a little information on that $18 million hole that everybody keeps hearing that we're in. And I think all of us, our first reaction when you hear that is, that kind of puppy head tilts, like, huh? What? 18, why? How do you find yourself in an $18 million hole? So I'm going to go through just a few things, and I know I'm kind of stealing Mr. Weidell's thunder for our public hearing, where he's going to really in-depth go through everything, but I'm just going to kind of throw a few things out there. So I'm going to touch on benefits for a second. So in our benefits category, right, we've got medical up 18%, prescription up 20%, dental 8%, pension payments up 2%, workers' comp up 30%, Social Security contributions, and there's a lot of other things in that category too that are up. When you add all of those numbers together, you come up with $5.2 million. $5.2 million. On top of what we're currently running our budget this year that we have to come up with, that all of that was out of our control. None of us decided that. So already we're talking about $5 million in the hole. If you go back to last year and watch the meetings and look at all of the paperwork, we had $4 million in reserves, in our maintenance reserve, if I'm correct. Right. We don't have that. We had $5 million in our unassigned reserves. We used it. We don't have that. So if you start taking all of these numbers and you add them together, and again, he's going to present all of that a lot better than I am, you get to your $18 million. We have a $168 million budget currently right now. And in order to provide our students with what we are currently providing them with, we need $18 million more to do it, which is mind-blowing, but it's where we're at. So my question then came, and I said to myself and I said to everybody, all right, we've got a $168 million budget. We have to cut $18 million. And going back to what Sal spoke about, I'm like, hold on. Are these the only cuts we can make? Like, are there other places we can make cuts? I'm a visual learner, and I know you all can't really see this, but this is a pie chart of our expenditures. And that blue one that's at 49%, that's our program cost. So everything that we spend to teach our students, all of teacher salaries, all of the textbooks and materials for a classroom, 50% of our budget. The red is benefits, and all those percentages that I just told you are going up, that's the red. If you put those two things together, you're at $118 million. So my question was, well, what about all the other slivers of the pie? Can we touch anything there? But when you really dive deep, and we had these conversations yesterday, because I'm like, all right, well, the green, maintenance and operations. Okay, what do we cut from there? I don't know, maybe we stop cutting the grass. I don't know, maybe we only turn the lights on for half the day. I don't know. Like, these are the crazy things that are coming out of our conversations. Transportation, 9.25% of our budget. I don't know, who doesn't get to school? Who does, we're right, and we did. We cut transportation, after school, but we did. So do we not get our kids to school? Do we, I don't know, are there some mechanics and supervisors, I don't know, that we don't need? And even if we did, it's not the dent that we need to see. We're not getting there. And then there's, other little slivers of the pie that don't even amount to $18 million. So I just wanted to kind of, I needed to see this visual. So the last thing I want to touch on is the state aid, right? Because we keep bringing it back to the state. So I had made this chart, I think it was last year, on the state aid numbers dating back to 2000. So in the 2000-2001 school year, we received $33 million from the state, and these are rough numbers. This year, we got $23 million from the state. If you think about what it costs to educate a child back in 2001 versus 2025, we have grown in so many areas. We provide so many more services, activities, programs for our kids. So to think that we can operate on $10 million less in state aid, it's unimaginable. So, I'll stop there because I can just keep going. The point is, this is hard. This isn't easy for any of us. But what I will say is, you have 9 board members up here. While we might not all agree, we work hard, and we are in all of this together. And we've been working really, really well together. So I just wanted to end with that. Thank you.
You guys have been working well together. It's nice to see. I will say this. You bring a great point. 2001, I worked in Elizabeth. I didn't have an armed officer in my school in Elizabeth. It's a different time. you can't imagine a school now without having an armed officer in it, just the way the world has played out. And none of us would ever think that that would be a world we want to see in the future. We have to protect our children and our staff. Those are, those are non-negotiables.
Marjorie? Or David, did you want to go ahead?
Can I ask? So, I'll really hold a good portion of it till next month. But I will say, so if you think about 18 million of a deficit, that's a structural deficit. That is about, if you're in a $180 million budget, it's about 10%, right? So when we say the program costs, again, are all, that includes salaries, it includes outside services we bring in, it includes supplies that we bring in. So that's one portion. But on the opposite end of a spectrum, you often will hear that salaries and benefits, so not including kind of the instructional supplies or the evaluation, the outside evaluators that we bring or any of the outside companies that we use. If you just talk salaries and benefits alone, that's usually about 75% of the district. So it's a little different comparison, but again, the numbers are there. Either program costs with benefits or salaries and benefits across the board. It's about 75%. So when you're talking about 18 million at 10%, what do you cut? And I know there's some teachers in here. I know that how many teachers buy their own supplies because we can't, thank you. I can barely, can I cut any more paper from the schools that they, I got people dying for paper. I got principals saying, I don't have enough they're calling other schools to say, hey, do you have chairs? Do you have desks? Our teachers, our staff, they're all resourceful here. It's amazing to see. I'm the guy that's got to say no. And I, in my prior positions, I never was that guy. But here, the decisions we have to make have to be smart. You have to think forward. So it is, to Elena's point, and they've asked about all kinds of stuff. There's a certain amount, when you talk about thorough and efficient, as Dave spoke to, it includes keeping, the roof above people's head, and it has to be a safe building. It has to be a secure building. We can't have leaks going on. And so all those add to thorough and efficient. There's a specific, at least a minimum, every year that we have to budget for required maintenance to each location. When you start having a leak after leak, if I do that minimum, you'll blow it out of the water come like November for some schools, unfortunately, because what happens if you have a mold issue over the summer? It all happens. If you have a bad snowstorm, now I'm going to be pulling from elsewhere in the budget to pay for that salting truck and that plowing truck. While we do it in-house too, we can't do it all. And we have to get our garbage picked up. We have to pay for that. There's so many expenditures, the little things where, like I said, when you cut, I can cut every instructional supply across the board from every school. Together, it's like 700,000. You got a lot of millions left to continue, and that would mean you guys get not even a pen. That's you're buying your own pen. So when you have to make 18 million in cuts, you have to do big egregious things, unfortunately. And again, I don't think anyone supports that. I would never support it, but again, it's the only way to hit these big numbers, and it's scary. It really is. So,
David, don't worry. We'll give you gray hair by the time the budget's done. Transportation and energy. How much did those costs go up to? Just real quick.
So let me speak. Yeah, I can add to that a little bit. So, has everyone heard in the news, whether it's on social media, everyone's energy, both residential, is going to be increasing. They're talking about 20% increases depending on providers. Well, when we were given initial net estimates, we were told 20 to 30%, right? So I budget conservatively, and I said 30%. Here's our situation. When the final numbers started coming out and it was like 20, the problem is because our issues have been prior as well, right now, the way we budget in 24-25, and my assistant business administrator was in the room. She's showing her back there. She can speak to it. We are underfunded right now in our electricity and our energy costs. So right from like now until the end of the year, we're pulling and plucking, transferring from different areas where we think we have some little buffer to pay for those electricity costs. So the reason I go to 30% is because in 25-26, I have to right size our costs, meaning I have to get to the amount that we're actually spending this year and then account for that 20% increase. So that's why it's a 30% increase, because we're behind right now. If I budgeted the same thing I budgeted last year, we'd be, in December, we'd probably be having to transfer out. So there are things, it's called right sizing your budget to see where current expenditures are this year, and then projecting out for next year based on, you know, amounts that we get from our professionals and our consultants. So that was energy. What was the other one? Transportation. So we have transportation routes. I wish we had a fleet of, you know, that we can handle everyone. It's impossible. You see, if you ever see the high school at dismissal, how many buses are there? I was stuck at the dismissal today after my kid was here. I was trying to count all the buses with them. I lost track. So the way it is for outside transportation, there is a CPI each year that they have to renew. So it's a little different, the purchasing with transportation. If you have a good relationship with a vendor, you know, you have the opportunity every year to say, are you willing to renew your price? We like working with you. You're doing a great service for us. We don't have the buses. We don't have the staff. We're willing to renew. The state provides a CPI each year to say, this is your renewal cost. You need water? Good? Okay, good. This is the percentage you have this year. So this year for 25-26, it's 3.57%. The past 2 years, it was in the 5s. So it's good that it's gone down, but it's still high. That accounts for inflation. It accounts for gas going up. You know, and everything's going up. We know that. So you take all your contracted services routes, the amounts that we pay for a year, and you basically increase them by 3.57%. There's a caveat. If, for instance, you want to maybe say, it's too much, or we're not having a good relationship with you right now, or we think you're falling on your service, you have the opportunity to go out to bid. However, when you go out to bid, it's lowest responsible and responsive bidder. So what you projected, say if it was a $1 million route in this year and it went up by 3.57, I'm not going to do that math in my head even though I should know it. When you go out to bid, that would have been your amount if you renewed. Say one vendor bids and they really want the business, but they can do it for 1.6 and they were the only one. Now you're stuck and you just cost yourself $300,000 more. So Debbie and her team are incredible at transportation. Like I said, last year we had a great year where there were 3 routes that were up for renewal. She said, don't worry about going out to bid. I got them. And she did it in-house. But the more you do that, the more we stretch ourselves thin. And, you know, we can't take full routes with full buses on. So the increase there for transportation is literally just our contracted routes outside with vendors multiplied by that 3.5% increase, and we go from there. So those are, again, this is my everyday. It's from the people in the audience. It's not their everyday. There's so many caveats. It's like learning a new language. There are so many things that go into it. I have late nights, long nights in my own home, at least downstairs in the basement, and I'm like bleeding because I'm looking at spreadsheets all day. That is the nature of the numbers, unfortunately. And when you have a 2% levy and your expenditures are increasing by 18%, 20%, double digits, it just, the math does not add up. And I know Dave has spoke to that in the past. That's the reality of what the fight is. So,
Okay, Marjorie?
Okay, just to kind of expand on what Elena was saying and talk about the budget and the fact that we've used up all our capital reserves over the years, and this is why. Because over the past years, the state of New Jersey has steadily reduced state aid to Old Bridge Township and other districts. But so, for example, I was looking at the 2011-2012 school year, and then looking through this year, the state aid has gone down steadily, and it's been a reduction of over 50%. So that's a lot of money gone. We've been able to mitigate a lot of the losses because of the capital reserves, but we don't have capital reserves anymore. Superintendent Cittadino, members of the administration, the BOE, we went to Trenton and joined other representatives from other school districts who are facing the same problems or in the same position. And we went numerous times to ask for clarity on the state's funding formula. Like how do you decide that you're going to cut this money from us? And unfortunately, none of us have had any reasonable response, and all of our efforts have changed nothing because they continued to decrease our school funding year after year. The state currently considers Old Bridge Township to be under adequacy by $30.4 million. You've heard Superintendent Cittadino mentioned that. And in simple terms, that means that the state believes that we as residents are not contributing what the state considers our fair share in local taxes. As long as the state continues to view Old Bridge in this way, they're going to continue reducing the aid to make up for what it sees as a local funding shortfall. But again, when pressed to explain the formula they used to make the determination, they've simply called the formula proprietary. This is a major contributing factor for why state aid continues to be reduced year after year, and without adequate state funding, we're forced to make decisions that will impact programs, staffing, services, and local taxes. And those are decisions that none of us want to make. That's why we're struggling with this. But we do want to assure you that we remain committed to doing the best that we can with the problems that we're facing for the students and staff and community, and that's us, the taxpayers. And we're going to continue pressing the state, and we may come to you and ask you to help us as well, to ask them to please, reveal their funding formula so we can understand how we keep getting here. But we really need a more transparent funding process.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
There were 3 real changes that came as a result of some of those meetings to the state aid formula this year. Number 1, we asked for more transparency on how to prepare for cuts. I believe you were sitting up in this stage when Dave said, hey, you got to broadcast. There was going to be, if you were going to be cut, it was going to be no more than 3%. So that came right before, a couple of days probably, right before. So that is something we asked for. They gave it to us. There was no, if you were getting state aid, it was no more than 6%. If you were losing state aid, it was no more than 3%. It was a quick fix. Obviously, we need to get the numbers right moving forward. But that was the first thing that they did. The second thing that they did, which does have an impact, but it's a really technical thing. Part of the funding formula, there's multiple components within the funding formula. One is called equalization aid. The way equalization aid is produced on the funding formula, it takes into account district income, meaning the income as a collective tax base, and property values. So when those were predominantly given and generated each year after year, they would give me the year that it was taken from, because it's all public. Obviously, your taxes have to get filed, so they can pull that information, and you all are supposed to file income taxes for your income, So they take all those information that they typically use a couple years behind, but it would be 1 year for 1 year. What they did this year, which did have an impact, and it was going to be a shock to the system, so they understood that, but they wanted to try to fix it moving forward. They did a 3-year rolling average. So they took 3 years of district income and 3 years of assessed valuation of the properties and put an average together. So it was a mechanism that they're trying to help fix going forward, but it shocked the system a little bit this year. It also hurts when you're coming off of S2, because during S2, if I showed anyone our state aid formulas, the numbers, and you could see through in user-friendly budgets, it was just frozen. Every year was frozen, and the only thing that was reduced was their equalization aid. Now, we're at a S2 on paper. All our numbers were generated based on our actual enrollments and what their actual costs were. So everything kind of changed, and it shocked our system more when you're in S2 district and everything was constant for 7 years. So that were the 2 major changes. It was the notice, the transparency. It was the 3-year rolling average. The other thing was people did ask. There's, again, Tom's River. If you see in the news, Tom's River is a different situation, but $100 million over, or under adequacy rather. So could you imagine, we're 30. Could you imagine telling your taxpayers we're going to go up $100 million? Obviously, it would never fly. But that is, some districts are so far under adequacy that there's no way to really catch up. So people ask, give us a mechanism to at least go to our adequacy levels. Well, this is what the state did. They didn't think it was going to be on the taxpayers, and just the top max from the state would be $1 million, and the rest is on you guys. But again, that was something asked, and they delivered. The real problem is the funding formula needs to change, and we're coming up to an election year, and the elephant in the room is no one wants to touch it right now until new administration is in place. And that's the reality of it, unfortunately. So the state now, we asked for loans. Many districts asked for loans. They said no. Here's a mechanism to do what you need to do. And I think that was just the way to kind of curtail for this year until potentially a new administration comes in and more changes can be made. But that's not a guarantee either. It's a big process. It's a bit undertaking that, you know, has to be done in Trenton and with the buy-in of all our professional organizations and from, you know, boards of ed and so forth. So that was the take from some of those meetings and really how the state changed the formula and talking to that.
I just want to touch on one thing. I'll be fast. The ridiculousness of what everything you just said about how schools, districts are receive our revenue. So we talked about this, a 2% cap. We can only go to this taxpayer for 2%. But some of the formula they base it upon is the income of the residents. So you guys fill out your tax return, like I said, and it's based upon, adequacy is based upon what you put as your income. Now, everybody in this room could win the Mega Millions. And everyone in the room wins $198 million. Congratulations to everyone. I can only go up 2%. It doesn't matter if everybody in the room is a brand new millionaire. The district can only go 2%. But they're saying we're under adequacy because your residents are making more money, but it doesn't matter how much money the residents make. We're still only able to go up 2%. So that's the ridiculousness of the formula. It's based upon your income, but we're still capped at 2%. I can't, because you all win the Mega Million, go up, oh, they all won the Mega Million, we're going up to 25% on them. Just 2%.
I promise we're getting there. Christina's going to share what a thorough and efficient education to Old Bridge means.
Okay. What is a true, thorough, and efficient education? A thorough and efficient education provides all students with access to a strong and competitive academic program that prepares them for college, careers, and life. It emphasizes academic rigor while also offering diverse opportunities for growth through career and technical education, fine arts, music, athletics, and leadership programs such as Play Unified, ROTC, and the many trade programs we offer. This inclusive approach values creativity, critical thinking, and practical skills, ensuring students can explore their interests and talents. Equally important is the focus on students' overall well-being with support for mental, emotional, and physical health, creating a balanced and supportive environment where every student can thrive. When I was growing up, and I'm sure many of you, we went to school to learn and went home. These days, for many of our students and families, it's so much more than that. And for us as board members and parents, it's essential and of the utmost importance for us to make sure we can maintain as much as we can for all the students. It's no secret that at times us as a board disagree on many things. But the one thing that we have in common, no matter what side you're on, no matter what some Facebook page or post says, no matter what anyone thinks they know, the one thing up here that we all have in common is the welfare of all students in Old Bridge to the best that we can. I mean, you know it's getting bad when Jay and Elena are actually getting along, and I have to say, yesterday there was many topics that they actually agreed on, and you know that's a big step forward for us. So, I mean, I think all of us up here are really putting in the work and making sure that, you know, we're really, you know, crossing our T's, dotting our I's to make sure that every student is being, you know, taken care of, and every program, every opportunity that we offer is being maintained throughout the district.
Okay. So that was the ugly part of what we've been learning. So we wanted to share all that with you. So Sal's going to give 3 examples of what, like, tax options and things like that, and what that looks like. So again, they're just examples.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the most unlikely first. Even if we just increase taxes by 10 million and make 8 million in cuts, that would include closing 3 elementary schools, going to the 6th period high school, as we mentioned earlier, half-day high school, no kindergarten, and no middle school sports. Now, I have here a letter of more information about the tax levy incentive aid, and it stipulates that it will equal the lesser of $1 million or 5% of the additional general fund tax levy raised above the district's taxing authority. So the second option we discussed was increasing taxes by 20 million, which would give us the lesser 1 million, which is 5% of 20 million. This would allow us to maintain all of our current programs, give us the $1 million from the state from this levy incentive. We'd be able to build back reserves. As mentioned, we had a gas leak at the middle school, so In the case of that, we do have reserves ready for that situation, and we would be able to plan for the long-range plan of the future with growth in the town. And the other option would be increasing taxes by 30.4 million, which would be the amount that would bring us to adequacy that the state defines that we have to be at. And for that option, once again, we would get $1 million from the state from the tax levy incentive. We had board consensus that we would be able to refresh the technology for students and the classrooms, build a level field, which is an all-inclusive sports field for all abilities. We'd be able to update the science curriculum, update both planetariums, allow for some security enhancements due to the changing times and all the crazy people around. We could build back reserves, once again going back to the gas leak, and we'd be able to plan for the future in the district. We're having a long-range planning and strategic meeting pretty soon, so we're able to discuss the plans we have going forward where it comes to redistricting and where we want to bring our districts. So increasing taxes by this amount would allow us to plan for such events.
Okay.
And I'm going to go over what the tax increase would
Hold
look
on 1
like.
second, Sal. So, Jay, can you show the really tiny fine print? So we weren't going to share this with you because it made our eyes spin. So we decided to share, and this is what Sal's going to go over, is the average tax assessed house. Yeah, we couldn't even read that. But this gave a breakdown that.
I'll explain
go
what I
ahead,
did.
Real quick.
I'll try to do quick. What I did, the eligibility was to go up $30,444,449. What I did to start was I broke down every $1 million, what the impact would be, what your collective increase would be. So I went from 1 million all the way down, so that's why there's 30 or one lines, I think, on the page, what the average impact is, what $1 million going up essentially costs, depending on different price points of where your assessment would be. So it was, that really is a chart of 1 million all the way to the end, based on $1 million increments and different price points of where your house is.
And it was by like $100,000 assessments. So we weren't going to give you all those numbers. So we decided as a board to give you the average tax assessed value and 3 different possible tax increase amounts and what that would mean for the year and for the month. And then we also went up to 500. So go ahead.
Yes. So the average assessed value of a home in Old Bridge is $157,000. For a $20 million increase, that would translate to $417 a year or $57 a month. Increasing taxes by $25 million would bring the average assessed house an increase of $503 per year or $64 per month. At the maximum allowed $30.4 million, that would translate to $617 a year or $74 a month. For those evaluated at $500,000, the $20 million increase would translate to $1,332 a year or $181 a month. The $25 million increase would include a $1,599 increase over the year or $204 a month. And the maximum $30.4 million increase would cause an increase of the tax levy for those at $1,962 a year or $234 a month.
Okay. So we know those are a lot of things to think. And Kieran, I apologize, I skipped over the part that you wanted to.
No, that's okay. I just want to share that it's been like 4 months, the Board of Education, right? I've been asking very tough questions, right? All the way to Mr. Cittadino, Dr. Kathy, Dr. Tui, and all of us. Because I have certain principle in my mind. This is a business, it's education business, and I come from a big corporate background and technology and everything, as probably some of you know. So I look at this as, how do we run this business efficiently, sustainably, importantly, right? And I've been asking so many challenging questions, starting from, hey, why don't we start from the foundations? What is the core basics that we need, right? We have been having a lot of conversations across the board members with administration. What does a core mean? And what I learned, part of the process is, the core means you can run your classes for 4 hours per day, right? And the core means you don't have to have so many sports activities. The core means you don't have to have so many arts and musics and bands and all of this. Then the question raises, is that what you want for your kids and other kids in the town, right? And then we have had tough conversations, right? Even up until like a week back or a couple of weeks back. But end of the day, what it comes back to is, the problem is not right here. The problem is because of the state and the process that which we are all being put through, right? But yes, is there a fix for this? Can we do this better? Absolutely yes, right? We can always do things better. And I think and we are in the right time, I think. Historically, however, there were several board members, whatsoever, however we have been driven by the state. I think here is a time that we need to all collectively work together to move on from this year, but start looking at the next 5 years plan, like some of us told here. We do not know what's going to happen next year, even if the government changes or the same government whatsoever. We do not know. It's unpredictable. So I think we have to look at, or rather, revisit our strategic planning. And that's where I think we are going to have a strategic planning meeting May 8th, hopefully. And that's where we have to start really looking at how do we manage this business more efficiently, optimized, but not compromising on quality. The education quality cannot be compromised, period, right? So I have some notes here. Pretty much, what I have is kind of bringing all of this or summarizing all of this. We are not alone in this we are not alone in this fight. We have Bordentown. Again, I have some data, just like Jay, probably using generative AI and Google and all of this. My data is not my data. It's a public data. So Bordentown is planning to cut 50 teachers and counselors to close an $8 million gap. Lacey Township may lose sports and busing due to a $6.5 million deficit. Lakewood, with a $22 million shortfall, is considering closing schools. Our $18 million deficit will put our teachers' programs like special education, arts, risk of reducing the class sizes and the hours, etc. So we're all caught in the same storm of rising cost and shrinking state aid. Just like how Elena went through, all the rising costs. We never know last year that this year, our costs will go up by $5 million, for example, on some of those benefits and, medical prescriptions and whatnot. And why is this happening? The root cause is all again the S2 problem, right? The state says, hey, Woolbridge, you're very wealthy. You can pay more taxes. But that's not the way, you can go and assess us. Each of us know, how wealthy we are. We have our own bills to pay. And our incomes and expenses, we know better. State just goes by a common ratio across the town. That's probably not the right way to do. And like Mr. Superintendent said, there's always a cap. You cannot go beyond the 2% cap. Then how do you manage? So it's a kind of a local issue again. If you look at the aspects of when did we do the last reassessment? When did we do the last reevaluation of our properties? So I did talk to some people in the county, as well as I'm talking to the folks in the township as well. So if you look at it, the last time when we did a property evaluation, is about in 1990s, and then probably in 2000s, a reassessment. It's too old. We have not done anything in the last recent past. And look at the inflation, the rising cost of everything. And whatsoever happening in the world, with tariffs and everything, I don't know how we are going to manage all of this with, a 30-year-old assessment done. So in a nutshell, where I'm going is we have to really prepare for the future, right? And the really preparing the future is to look at, all these aspects that are causing us this trouble, right? Yes, we can bring in efficiencies, but we can bring in efficiencies as much as, we can make our inflow more better. Right now, our inflow are capped, right? So the reason every year we have to increase these taxes is only because of, there is no proper process set in place, no proper inflow set in place. Yes, maybe the state is right, probably, there is a lot of income happening in Woolbridge, but who is governing that? There's nobody, nobody taking ownership of it, right, to govern that and put a process in place. So these are the various reasons that, we are stuck in the middle, and our students are impacted more than anything, and of course the taxpayers are getting impacted year on year. So to protect our schools, right, the great teachers we have, the sports and the arts and the various programs and curricula we have, including special education, with the 2% raise, it's going to be tough. And I have the same questions when I looked at, is it $18 million? How do we, bridge this gap? But this is more of a foundational problem. It is not a problem just arising year over year. And I think collectively as a community, including the residents and the board and the township, we all need to collectively work together to work with our, senators or the government and keep pushing them for getting a permanent resolution on this. So yes, we need to, definitely fight for a fairer state funding formula. and prepare for the 2025 tax update to fix in our tax system, find ways to save money, but at the same time, like we looked at all the cuts, there is only some gain we will get. You cannot get 18 million just off anything. Even you close all these schools, as you looked at it, what kind of impact is it? It's a big impact, right? Cutting down 6 hours, 6 periods, like half a day school. What will the kids do for the remaining half of the day? We parents all work to raise our families. Where could the kids be if they're on the road? Then the police is going to incur more trouble and whatever. So I just want to summarize that we have all done our due diligence. This is not like one person's problem. It's a common problem. It's a community problem that we all need to come together. And I'm really glad that we are all on the same page. At the end of it, yes, we had tough conversations, Mr. Citadino or Mr. Vidal, but the end of it, the end result is that we are all together in this, and there is no other opportunities right now in plate, and we do not want to get our children impacted. End of the day. Thank you.
So, go ahead.
Can I just say one thing? I just wanted to kind of tie in what Sal was talking about with the, what does the tax increases look like, and also what Kieran just mentioned. So when Sal was talking about the average assessed house in Old Bridge being $157,000, that's the assessment from when Kieran was talking about, from the 1990s or whatever. So on those postcards that you get for your taxes, it tells you what your assessment value is, right? So like my house, I live in Saywood South, my house, I'm one of those average value. The postcard that I get says my house is values at $160,200. And I mean, I know it's sold, somebody across the street bought it for close to 7. So like that, when he's talking about that, he's talking about what your current assessment of your house is according to the state. So that's what's on that little card. It's not what you think your house sells for or what it's worth or anything like that. That's what it's based on.
Yeah, so, and that's all public information. So if you don't know where you put your postcard, you can go online. So we know that was a lot of information to process. The board emails are out there. So now our job over the next few weeks is to figure out what number are we comfortable with. Are we comfortable with any of it? No, we're not comfortable with any of it. We don't want to raise 20 million. We don't want to cut 18 million, but it's not our money, it's your money. So flood our email boxes, let us know what you're comfortable with, because that's the hard decision that we have coming up. So I want to give kudos to the board for coming together yesterday. It was a great day, and I think we shared a lot with the public, so I appreciate that. Anything else on committee reports before I open the mic to the residents? All right, we all spoke enough. It's now, 5 minute? All right, 5 minute bathroom break, and then we will open the residents, the
Okay.
mic.
Do we need a
Motion pause?
for a beef? Okay.
Okay, we're doing a 5 minute.
All right,
we're in
we'll take a
recess.
quick 5-minute recess, stretch.
So at this point, I'd like to open up the mic for the hearing of the residents on any agenda item and the massive information dump that we just gave you. There is a notebook, so sign in. We ask for time because we just had a long section. If you're going to speak, come line up now. Let's not like wait to, get up when the next person speaks. So the mic is now open.
Also, just so you know, we're going to give a quiz at the end of this meeting. And you have to- I hope you all get a good grade on things we said.
Anyone speaking?
Andrew Lewis, OBEA. Before I read what I have here, I want to take a moment and thank Mr. Cittadino for your service to the district for all the years. I want to echo Mrs. Mazzone, and I also asked Mrs. Fiore to stay another year. She also told me no. I want to also thank you all for acknowledging that educators buy their own supplies when we don't have enough paper. Hopefully that changes. And I edited what I wrote here quickly because I thank you all for getting along. So I want to address the district's ongoing financial crisis. Since the last meeting, I've been asked, what happened? What's the plan? There's confusion and there's concern. I tried to come up with an analogy for your vote last meeting on the potential tax levy increase and decided to compare it to applying for a mortgage and buying a house. At the last meeting, you essentially applied for a $30 million mortgage. It was a bold and necessary step. It showed vision and responsibility. But now comes the real decision. What kind of home are we going to buy for the future of Old Bridge schools? You have a few options. You can play it safe and buy a home for under $18 million. But just like a small house with a growing family, you'll quickly run out of space. You'll end up needing to buy a shed to store the essentials, meaning you'll be scrambling for temporary fixes and short-term solutions that don't really meet the needs of the district. You could choose the $18 million home, a bit bigger, but still tight. It might work for now, but you'll likely outgrow it within a year. And by that time, the financial window that you have now may be closed. You might not get approved for another $30 million, especially with changing economic conditions and political shifts. Or you can go higher than 18, somewhere between 20 and 30. You can take full advantage of the mortgage and invest in a home that actually fits. One that meets the needs of our students, our staff, and our community. Not just for this year, but for many years to come. This is more than just a budget. It's a blueprint for what kind of district we want to have. Do we want to keep patching holes, or do we want to build something strong, lasting, and future ready? There's hope that this board will rise to the moment and do what's right for Old Bridge. This evening, I'm going to share with each of you some postcards written by my members as well as members of our community, encouraging you to invest in success. Here's a glimpse of what some of them say. Raising taxes isn't easy, but neither is explaining why we let our schools crumble when we had a lifeline. Be the board that chose to build, not break. More cuts only hurt staff who live and work in Old Bridge. We take pride in our schools. And we care about your children. Help us, don't fight us. We're here because we care. My daughter helped organize these today, Take Your Child to Work Day. So members of the board, let me ask you to invest in success. Invest in our schools, invest in our staff, and invest in our students. Invest in the success of the Old Bridge Township Public Schools. Thank you.
Anyone else on any agenda item or the budget that we just spoke of? All right. Mic is closed. We're going to move on. And there is nothing in policy. Curriculum, items 1 through 4. Can I have a motion, please?
Giordano, motion.
Francisco will second.
Jody won't second.
I'm sorry, I just missed that.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
we were distracted by cards.
That was curriculum. Motion was by Giordano and second by Francisco. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give it to Elena.
All right. Any discussions on items 1 through 4? All right. A roll call, please.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solikowski,
Yes.
Venkatason.
Yes.
Dunn is absent. Francisco.
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 4 for curriculum and professional development passes.
Okay. Finance, item 1 through 14. Can I have a motion, please?
Slater move.
Ms. Owen will second.
Any discussion?
Going to administratively remove item number 2. We had a discussion with the township. We are going to just fix one item on there. So there's going to be a couple shared service agreements for approval next month, but we're just going to make one change in this shared service agreement. So we're going to administratively remove number 2.
Any other discussion on finance? Roll call, please.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent, Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
and D'Antuno.
Yes.
Resolution passed for finance resolution number 1 and then 3 through 14.
Okay. There was nothing on athletics. Non-certificated personnel office. Item 1, can I have a motion, please?
Francisco will motion.
Jody will second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Slade,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent, Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
D'Antuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 for non-certificated personnel office passes.
Okay, non-certificated personnel operational, items 1 through 4. Can I have a motion, please?
Jody will move it.
Giordano second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent, Francisco,
Yes.
Long night.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
D'Antuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 4 for non-certificated personnel operational passes.
Okay. Non-certificated personnel other, items 1 through 5. Can I have a motion, please?
Francisco will move.
And a second?
Kiran will second.
Thank you. Discussion? Are the blank spaces in number 4 still to be filled?
Yes, we're currently hoping to do that. However, if those are not filled, we'll fill them with Kelly subs.
Okay. And what's the cost difference with in-house versus Kelly sub for that position?
I'd have to give you that information. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Thanks.
Sorry, I should have
Sorry.
asked you beforehand. Any other discussions on items 1 through 5? All right, roll call, please.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent, Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
D'Antuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 5 for non-certificated personnel other passes.
Certificated personnel items 1 through 14. Can I have a motion?
Ms. Owen motion.
And a
Giordano
sec-
second.
We just need to administratively remove number 5.
Okay.
And I'd like to separate one for discussion.
Number 1,
Yes.
Okay.
separated 1 for discussion.
So any discussion on everything except number 1? Okay. Do we do, now just discuss, okay. So now,
Just for clarification, number 5 will be put back on in May, because I'm sure there's people that are out there looking and wondering why we're removing it. There's just other motions that need to be put on with this.
okay,
So I want them all to go on at the same time.
collectively, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so discussion on number 1?
Yes, I'd like to thank Mr. Cedino for his years of service to the Old Bridge District, and I wish him the best in Wayne. So thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Dave as well. The only thing I knew about Dave for the first 8 years was his voice on the phone. When we had days off, I didn't know who he was, but it was a pleasure working with you, Dave, for the last 4 years. I've learned a lot, and I wish you well on your next journey.
I'm also going to echo. He stuck with us for a little longer. And we'll appreciate every one of them. One, Daisy might have to come and make an appearance, and we'll thank Daisy for her service, because as much as the kids like hearing your voice, telling them that there's no school, you know, they definitely love Daisy. So we thank both of you for your service and dedication. and wish we could keep you longer, but know you'll always be in touch, so. Any more discussion on Dave's resignation?
Yeah, I just want to echo the same, Mr. Cittadino. Thank you very much for all you have done to the district. I think it's a long path that you have carried forward in the district, probably like 13 years or more, right? So it's a long pathway. Really appreciate, it's for no reason, we are here because of, your leadership all along the days. And I'm sure, there will be a lot of people, missing you. But, we have to always look forward. And like you rightly mentioned, you need to look out for yourself as well and for the growth of, others as well. Thank you.
Any other?
Jay, I will say, I can't let this go by. If you remember before you really knew me and Brothers of Voice, we had a phone call. Yeah, during COVID, and you weren't very nice to me. And you.
Could you share a little bit of that?
Yeah. And I said, listen, I don't want to be the guy that I just want to be the guy running the schools and making everybody happy. But apparently, unfortunately, during COVID, it was difficult to do. And I think you called me a schmuck at one point. But that was probably what I could share with the kids watching here. So.
No, but I do remember you did say, you said you don't want to be a front and center name. Nobody knew who you are, but we quickly knew your name on the bad side. But that was then, this is now. And it was a good transition.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay, so this is 1 through 4, administratively removed 5, and 6 through 14. Dunn is absent, so we'll go to Francisco.
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
and Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 4 and 6 through 14 for certificated personnel passes.
Non-certificated personnel transportations, items 1 through 3. Can I have a motion, please?
Giordano, motion.
Francisco, second.
Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Dunn is absent. Francisco.
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski, Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolutions 1, 2, and 3 for non-certificated personnel transportation passes.
Okay. Speaking of transportation, we'll move on to transportations, items 1 through 4. Can I have a motion, please?
Ms. Owen, motion.
Jody will second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent. Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 4 for transportation passes.
Okay. Supplies, equipment, and services. We have items 1 through 17. Can I have a motion, please?
Ms. Owen, motion.
Second? Can I have a second, please?
Giordano, second.
Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent. Francisco.
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 17 for supplies, equipment, and services passes.
Miscellaneous items 1 through 6.
Ms. Owen, motion.
Second, please.
I will second.
Kieran, thank you. Discussions? Roll call, please.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn is absent. Francisco.
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 6 for miscellaneous passes.
Okay, so board secretary and board business We're removing the calendars 1, 2, and 3, correct? Okay, because that got pushed to next month. So items number 4 through 16, can I have a motion?
Ms. Owen, motion?
Francisco will second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
All right, so this is from 4 to 16. Mazone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Venkatason,
Yes.
Dunn is absent. Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
No for 12, yes for the rest.
no for 12. Jodry,
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes, sorry.
Resolutions 4 through 16 for board secretary, board business passes.
Okay. So hearing of the residents on any school district item. Again, if you're going to speak, everyone line up now, sign the book.
I was trying to digest a lot of what we heard tonight, so didn't want to just jump up here during the first opening, but
Can you just state your name, please?
I'm sorry, it's Ron Varial. I'm a parent and resident of Old Bridge for, God, it's scary to say, but I'm going on closer to 50 than 40 years at this point. So I've been sitting in these meetings for months and almost years now, hearing about the 2% cap, hearing about how our hands are tied, hearing about how we're at the mercy of the state, of these archaic rules, these confusing funding formulas. And tonight it's like, and even at the last meeting, it's like the skies have opened and suddenly you as a board have an opportunity to seize control of what you want Old Bridge schools to look like, to feel like, to operate like. Me sitting out in the office, in the audience, all I keep thinking is, I really hope this is a debate about whether we're going to the max, if we're going just shy of the max, because my understanding is this could be a one-shot deal. This could be a one-shot deal to get us to where you're back in control. You've had control wrested away from you for years now, and that's all we've heard. And I've heard people come up here and blame the state and blame this and blame that. But the control is in your hands right now. We as Old Bridge, as residents, we could see in social media, we could see in the comments, people want great schools. It's not free. You can't just say, I want great schools, but I don't want to spend $50 a month extra. You can't say I want my property values to go up and be maintained and then cut your late buses and get rid of your athletics. And Mr. Venkatason, I loved how you spoke so passionately about the musical that you saw, and I know that's something close to my family's heart. I know athletics is something. The things that our kids learn at these extracurricular activities, how to be a leader, how to socialize, how to take constructive criticism, how to lose, how to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back out there when things don't go your way. You have the opportunity to not only keep this ship afloat, I hope that's not even a question, but you have the chance to say, rally the town. This is a point of pride for us. We love our schools. We think our schools can be better. Let's just not survive. Let's not just do the bare minimum so that, we don't put our necks on the line and at the next election, or the next 3 elections, you were the one that raised our taxes. Guess what? It's not about raising our taxes. It's about building our schools, investing in our schools for the next however long it might be. And maybe you could clarify a little bit on, I know last year it was a 9.9 and people said this is the one time. And I'm seeing in towns all over the place, it's the same thing. Catastrophic you know, we're closing schools, it's gonna be a disaster, but we have a lifeline. But that can't be year in and year out. So if this is your chance to make a statement and say, we want local control, right? How much of our politics, locally, nationally, is about local control, local decision-making? You have that. You have the control in your hands. So I just urge you to take this time and take this chance to don't just limp through. Be bold, be aggressive. Set the tone for the next superintendent that's coming in. You don't think that's going to make this a much more attractive opportunity when you go out there and you've got a couple dozen candidates and you want the best? You're not going to get the best because you already lost the best, but if you want the second best, this is your chance to do it. Be up there, say, we're financially in a good spot. You're not coming in to, still pinch every penny because it's still important. But this is your time to do it. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Let's see. Good evening, everyone. Gene D'Onofrio, former Board of Ed president. I was in your shoes with budgets and stuff like that. What made me not run for re-election, I hired Dave Citadino, Hoka, Dr. Hoka, Chris Ponton, and we promoted Vinnie Saus with the high school. I felt the district was in great shape for the next 10 to 15 years. Dave, thank you for making me look correct. Appreciate all your help, everything you've done for our district, as a superintendent, as a human being. And one thing I asked this board to do, there's no right or wrong answer. I've been there. I've been sitting with you. I built Lombardi Field. I took more ridicule. We did the baseball field. And it turned out to be the best thing for Old Bridge. Yes, is my house worth $700,000-800,000? 100% it is. I don't want the school district to go down the tubes. I want my house to be worth $800,000. Okay, if our school system goes down the tubes, so does the value of our homes. People are going to leave Old Bridge like you cannot imagine. Give the teachers what they need to teach. Give this district a superintendent, a leader, who can take us to the next 10 years like we provided you as a former board member. Thank you all, and again, every hour here you spent is an hour away from your family, and I appreciate that because I've been there. Dave, once again, thank you so much. Dr. Hoka, Chris, again, you're still the best lawyer I've ever seen, and I'm glad we hired you. All of you, God bless, and God bless America.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Sign in after, if that's okay. My name is Brooke Richards-Patterson. I don't even know where to begin, and I know I have a limited amount of time, so there's just a lot to unpack, a lot to take in, too many things all changing all at once. Just a couple of things was, I know Kieran had mentioned, about the reassessment. I just happened to attend the town council meeting on Tuesday night this week, and that topic came up, and the mayor was very explicit that basically they are working on the reassessment, and that's something that goes for the county, not the township, and that none of that is going to help us in this specific predicament, unfortunately. So I would encourage anybody to tune in, on YouTube to educate yourselves a little bit about that part. So that's like one less thing. I was trying to take notes as Mr. Wydell was talking, and then it was everybody. And when we talk about transparency as far as the state, I really just wanted to ask of the same with the schools, because I'm going to have to watch this meeting 100 times on YouTube to really catch up and absorb every, single thing. And it would be amazing to just, be a part of the 4 finance meetings that happened behind closed doors that excluded the public. Granted, I get it, it is a lot, but, just practice what you preach and be more forthcoming. I also wanted to know if it was possible, like I know you guys have to announce these meetings in a certain way. Is it possible to maybe change the way, different avenues, maybe the bridge, maybe the patch, things more modern. And our emails, like parent emails saying, hey, this is the agenda. These are important topics. We had a big controversial health thing, and our Board of Ed, was telling us that we have a big controversial topic coming up. I think if people really saw this like the rest of us saw it, they want to be here. And just like the rest of us, we're running around with sports and extracurriculars with our kids, working, trying to juggle everything. And so, I think it's important to get all the stakeholders and also consider people that are seniors that live here, and not just our education. I mean, we moved here for the education, so don't get me wrong. I don't want to unpack anything that you guys are talking about, and I don't envy what you guys have to go through. And I am thrilled that you're all getting, that everybody's on board and trying to team up here, but it is a lot. And so those were just a couple of things that I just wanted to touch on. I don't want to go too far because there's just so much. And I just want to say for the record, Mr. Citadino, I've known you as long as I've lived here. We've butted heads at times, but you've also helped me a lot at times, and I really, truly wish you well and all the best. I'm happy that you have a 4-year contract, and I see that they're paying you well. And I do wish you the best. I know the first time I ever spoke to you, because I was definitely more helicopter with the older one. She was my first. The first time I met you, you said, I'll never forget it, Ms. Patterson, my wife always said, when it comes to your kids, never settle. And that always stuck for me, and that's probably why I've been the biggest pain in the neck to you all these years. So I do wish you well. Okay, that's it.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to close the public portion. I just wanted to touch on one thing before we go into old and new business. We knew this was a lot of information to unpack. That's why we did want to give the transparency and have the, yes, it was a 4 or 5 hour meeting behind closed doors, but we brought it out to you for that transparency. And we did it now because there is time for you guys to email us. Watch the presentation 4, 5, 6, 20 times, because it is a lot to unpack. So that was the board's project when we started this topic, is to bring it forward. So that's why it's now and not at the budget presentation next month. Any old business?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I forgot to mention this at the presentation during the committee reports, but I know a bunch of seniors, they have rebates and other programs such as Anchor. So I know it doesn't help, but I know these systems are in place for seniors, and some of them have some cost of living adjustments when they come back. So that's going to be a big thing for me when I make my vote, because you either have the parents with students, which they directly benefit from the education and the school system, and then you have those older without children who, as was mentioned from Mrs. D'Onofrio, that they benefit from their home values being maintained, but they also are on fixed incomes and can't necessarily afford big jumps depending on the position they're in. So once again, there are ways for seniors to assist with their property tax payments, and I'll have more specific information about that at the budget meeting, but I just want to bring that up, and that's going to affect the way I vote and possibly how others vote. Thank you.
I just have a comment. I just want to echo your words. I said it earlier. I think we're in the best seat in the House to be able to gain control of the destiny of the district. I hate to use this cliche, but it's like when a guy takes a woman out to dinner, he pays the bill. There's always that obligation. You're going to pay money for something, so you got to pay for things. So. No, not bought. I'm saying, or even a woman buys dinner for a man. But my point is, it's a nice opportunity to have control of your destiny. So why wake up on January 1st and wonder what the state is going to do? I echo those words. I think we have the opportunity to take advantage of it. Think of the alternatives. You want to send your kid to private school if you don't like what the public school system's doing. It's got to be triple than what we're going to pay in taxes. There's not going to be any more sports. You have to pay for rec sports. So there's a price to pay when you want to go independent. To me, it's an investment into our children's education, the staff, home values. So I'm all in favor of supporting and spending my money as well as your money. Thank you.
To answer the question, we don't know about next year. You know, when we finished S2, we thought that was a new baseline for cuts and we weren't going to lose anymore. And then we lost, and we thought the 9.9 was going to fix. You know, and that's part of the hard part for the board up here is, you know, we said we'd go to the max last year, and that's going to be it. And now we're being hit again. But this is the new baseline. So whether we do 20 million to get the 1 million, we do 25 million, we do 30.4, that $5 or $10 million increment, that's compounded. So it's not just, you know, a $10 million difference this year. It's a $10 million difference of income coming to the district, to the schools next year. So that's part of the whole thing. So any more old business?
I just want to...
New business. Go ahead.
Yeah. So on April 8th, we had a multicultural event in Madison Park. I just want to thank the PTA team there, the president Nancy Mento, Nancy Nagaria, Jessica, Katie, Laura. They were very amazing. I couldn't be part of the full session, but at least the theme of bringing multiple cultures into a session where the whole evening the kids try to understand about each and every culture and a variety of food, food platter from the parents, and it was a very good event. And we also have got an opportunity to bring in some external volunteers to perform, some dance and music. So that was a very amazing event. And again, I want to thank the Madison Park PTA. And yeah, go ahead.
I have two things. The first thing that I have is I spoke to Jen about this before the meeting. I would like to recognize maybe next meeting Miss Kenny over at Grissom. Her and my daughter, and not just because it's my daughter, but she put together this foundation to save the sea turtles, and they spent months and months putting this thing together, and they spent countless hours. They went out, they raised over $1,000 to donate to the sea turtle recovery over in Turtleback Zoo. And again, that goes back to show you just how much effort and how much time that these teachers spend with the students and care for the students. So if it is possible, I would like to recognize Miss Kenny next month. Because, like I said, she deserves to be recognized for her efforts in that. The second thing I have to say is I understand that everyone uses Facebook as a platform, and listen, you're free to say whatever you want, but I think that people need to be mindful of what is being said on Facebook. We have high school students on Facebook, we have middle school kids on Facebook, and the things that are said on Facebook are just mean and nasty. And we are a district that we are supposed to be working together, especially in a time like this, and we have our differences, and that's fine. But for grown adults to be talking the way they do, it's not set an example for any one of our students or our children. And it's actually quite disgusting. So, we want our children to be respectful. We want our children to learn from us. By doing that, that's not really setting an example at home. So if we could just be mindful of what is being said on Facebook, that would really set an example for future generations. So, thanks.
I just missed to acknowledge Mr. Daly as well, the principal of Madison Park. Thanks for him to help support the PTA as well as bring in this kind of events to the school. Thank you.
Yep. Yesterday I went to the 5th grade volleyball tournament at the high school, which was pretty awesome. So I just wanted to thank all of the gym teachers and any other staff members that were involved in putting that together. It was kind of a beautiful example of the most organized chaos you could have in a gym. It was also 4,000 degrees in there, but those kids had so much fun. My daughter got to play, and I would love to know out of that how many of those kids actually try out for the volleyball team, because I really think it kind of opened up a whole another world for a lot of the kids. So it was fun. So I just wanted to say thank you to all those who were involved.
Yes, I have something else. So not only the budget, we appreciate that, but we also want some information on if anyone has any redistricting ideas, what they want, what they don't want, because that's going to be affected by the ultimate budget decision as this board makes. So just give us that more information, and should we go all the way with the budget or, cut some stuff out, and that's it. But we appreciate all your emails, positive and negative. We love the feedback. Thank you.
Okay. To piggyback off of what Sal was saying, May 8th, we were able to secure the date for the long-term strategic planning meeting. We're hoping to have those meetings more often. It hasn't really happened the past 2 years. We're hoping maybe every other month. Like, we can't wait till budget time to be having these conversations. And whether we talk about redistricting, we talk about where the funding's coming from. The board kind of said this year that we want to have those more often. So May 8th, the public's invited. Kids are invited. Like, this is your school. What do you want to see, in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? That's the meeting to come to. I want to thank Sean McCoy for handling a phishing email that went to the board and the administration during spring break. I try really hard to respect people's personal times off. The administration knows that. The poor guy was getting, hit with emails over spring break because a fake email from me that wasn't from me, asking for everyone's cell phone number, and everyone's texting me like, don't you have my number? So totally do. So thank you, Sean, for working on that. The spring sports teams are in the middle of things. Great job. Keep going. Play Unified had a great season and finished off high, so great job to them. And then I was also going to mention the 5th grade volleyball. So thank you to all those that made that happen. Anyone else?
Last thing. Yes, I want to congratulate Play Unified for finishing up their season. Also, I want to thank Dr. Payton over at Memorial for inviting us to their wax museum. I mean, those kids, man, they did such an amazing job at this wax museum. I wasn't able to attend last year. I went this year, and I was blown away at the costumes and the information and just how they're able to memorize their whole speech, because I can't remember anything. Obviously, I write my speeches down, as everyone knows. But, I mean, they really, really did an amazing job. So, thank you to Dr. Payton and the staff at Memorial for inviting us and just giving us this wealth of knowledge that they did that day. Thank you.
I don't think Play Unified's over. I believe that there's spring, track. I thought there was some. Basketball's over. Okay. But anyway, I think there's, am I right? There's track. So come out, support our kids that are participating in these awesome programs.
I wanted to mention one thing about the calendars. We took them off the agenda tonight, but not a lot of people have weighed in about, just a handful, about the different calendars. So maybe take another look at them, because we're going to revisit that, and just tell us which calendar you prefer.
I think part of that is we kicked it back to the committee to see if there was any other tweaking. So it wasn't that we were waiting for response.
Well,
we didn't really like any of the choices and wanted another one.
But we didn't really get many responses at all.
So, yeah.
I just want to also, I forgot to thank the PTA President's Council. Last night, I wasn't aware that they were doing this for me. Obviously, they had a meeting last night, and I had a conflict, and I did not attend, but they had a cake for me and a gift, and I wasn't there, and I feel terrible because they got me a cannoli cake, which is my favorite kind of cake. I don't even like cake, but if I'm going to have a cake, it's going to be ice cream or cannoli. You're welcome, Gino. And that was very nice of them. I felt so terrible when I found out about that, and I wasn't there. So the cake is in my office. They a nice gift, and I was going to go. It's their last meeting, so I can't even bring them a cake to their next meeting. But I thank them. The parents, the PTAs have always given me great support, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sal, Marjorie, and I enjoyed your cake, so it was very good.
Yeah, we had the part with your name on it.
All right. Anyone else?
I believe the NJSLA state tests are going to happen in the month of May, I think beginning next week or so. Yep. So I want to wish good luck and best wishes for all the students and also the staff that are supporting through this process. Thank you.
All right.
We doing new business? Or we did that already?
Go ahead, do your new business.
I got something, yeah. I'll keep it professional.
Were you not paying attention?
No, I'm not going to.
Where's your poker hand?
Just a reminder, the Old Bridge Education Foundation, the grant applications are open. I believe a memo went out to all the staff. Last year we gave out $10,000 in grant money. So get your applications in, we'll review them, and I think we're going to have a presentation on May 20th when we do the Teacher of the Year, which we did that last year. So look out for the grant application, and also we're having a flea market at the Grade 9 Center on May 17th from 9 to 3. It's again another reason to support the foundation. Thank you.
Okay, so next month we have 3 meetings. The budget presentation should be May 6th. May 13th will be our agenda meeting. And then the Teacher of the Year celebration will be May 20th. The first week of May is staff appreciation. Well, we call it staff, but it's teacher appreciation, but we kind of, we appreciate thank you, the whole staff. It's been a long night. So thank you to all
the
the
public
staff.
hearing is May 6th, but the adoption of the budget would be at the agenda session.
Yes. So
just so
the
everyone's aware.
presentation of the budget is May 6th, but no voting will be happening that way. So, motion to go into executive session, unless there's anything else.
Giordano motion.
Ms. Zoma, second.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the nice weather, and have a safe drive home.
Aye.
Yeah, we're not coming back out. We're going to the admin building for executive session.